Welcome to Fractal level 9, the Molten Furnace Fractal. For this fractal I went with a Rampager's build, now that we almost have 5 gold to spend. Rox is making sure we can continue, but first a portal appears and we need to kill the enemies quickly. While I'm getting beaten up by these dredge, I'd like to address some issues this free-to-play account has. As a free-to-play account, we don't have access to any sigils or runes. I mean, they can drop, but as stated in my rules, I can only buy things. And sigils, runes and medallions and such are unavailable from the trading post. And the means to craft them are neither. This leaves 8 stat combinations and crystals, orbs and shards you normally use for jewel crafting. And all the variation comes from the build and maybe the food. There are some strange foods out there. As for stats, there are not many useful stats. The best stat by far, in my opinion, for solo play is Apothecary, which gives healing power, condition damage and toughness. Sadly, it's also the most expensive one. The second expensive one is Berserker. But luckily there's also Assassins, which is for some reason way cheaper and probably also more helpful, since I can now rely on the on-critical hit effect. There's also Valkyrie, which is good if you can guarantee crits, but that's not easy to do on Thief and NG on core classes without runes or sigils. There's also Knights, which is a very strong tanky option in place of Assassins or Berserkers. There's also Clerics. Clerics is, other than Apothecary, the only stat with healing power. And since Apothecary is too expensive, that leaves Clerics as the only healy stat. As for condition damage, besides Apothecary, there is Rampagers and Carrion. Carrion gives the most condition damage out of all the available stats. And Rampagers is not the best stat, to be honest. Since there's only a few viable stats, and from those viable stats not all of them are affordable, there's going to be some repetition in the build. So before the fractals become too difficult, I need to use this time to really experiment with the wacky builds. So, as probably the last time I will be using Rampagers, I've decided to go for this fractal with a Rampagers build, which uses Flamethrower to get a lot of on-crit effects. Also tried getting a lot of might and protection, so I can stay in Flamethrower longer and really capitalize on the condition damage and power substats of Rampager. Aside from the start, it was a bit rocky, and aside from that, it's actually working well, which is surprising, and maybe, just maybe, I will use it in the future. Unlike all the other builds, I now have 2 exotic pieces, one headpiece and an exotic pistol, because exotics deal more damage than rares, even if their stats are shitty. So hopefully I can still experiment with wacky builds until the fractals become too difficult and all you're going to see is pistol unload on Thief, with perhaps sword pistol for blinds and cleaves, and engineer just spamming away grenades and bombs. As for the Molten Furnace Fractal, Rox has set off her drill and it made a path for us, but can only continue by going inside each crevasse or cave and opening a steam vent to let us through to the next part. At the end of the drill bit, we're going to be executed, and after that it's a bit of wait time until we get to the final destination of this fractal. Here we are at the testing ground. There's a weird part of fractals where if you die, things don't work as they should. For example, this is the last part of the testing phase. And it's very hectic, lots of things going around, and especially with lots of people doing big effects, it can be quite disorienting. Keep this in mind when I show you the next part. Oh, by the way, I also died once to the end boss. I learned that he has an impale attack, which deals a lot of damage. And here I was thinking he can only shoot. Well, lesson learned, stay on a distance. Now to explain the testing phase. In the first part, a lot of AoEs are being thrown around, and a dredge mining suit has to be killed. After the suit is dead, the red circles will disappear and 4 dredge will appear, together with core being vulnerable. The little dredge are not dangerous. The core, however, is. It does an attack clockwise or anti-clockwise where it vents flames. If you stand in that, that's bad news. So try to move with the pattern and lure the dredge around the core for easy pickings. The second phase is, instead of red AoEs, it's red tornadoes going around. Luckily I'm on a flamethrower build, so I have lots of stability. Kill the suit and do the same thing with the little dredge and the core. At 25%, well, in theory, but apparently not if you die to the boss, all the attacks are unleashed and you have to destroy the core while in this hectic environment. After that, it's boss time. The boss hits hard. He has 3 attacks. One where he just shoots at you, One where he creates 3 fire tornadoes and an impale. If you stay at a distance, the impale will do nothing, and you can easily sidestep the fire tornadoes. But the shooting can add up over time, so be careful of that. And at every 25% he moves around, which doesn't really add anything to the fight. And that's Molten Furnace done. Let me show you my build again, and I hope to see you in level 10, where you can finally use 5 whole golds for our build.